Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/Am I the Butthole, where OP literally gets mad at her own husband for wanting to go to his own sister's wedding. Our first Reddit post comes from JQF27, titled, "Am I the butthole for changing my family's last name secretly while not informing anyone?" I got married 3 years ago to my husband. I changed my last name to his immediately following. My relationship with my in-laws was never super, but it was civil until about 2020 when our differences became obvious and were really hard to reconcile. They have never welcomed me into their family and never put forth any effort to be a part of our lives. At first, my husband just said things like, "Oh, they are like this with new people, and this is just how they are." Over time, though, they have not only managed to alienate me, but my husband as well. They have implied that I was a gold digger and have called me quite a few unpleasant names. My husband had enough with them during our first year of marriage, and when he went low contact with him, they tried to guilt, manipulate, and passive aggressively get him to resume what we call his quote, previous role in the family, basically being the only one to do all the work in the relationship. When that didn't work, they basically cut us out. They never called much before this, but now they never call at all. And then they act like it's our fault that they don't and play the victim constantly. I have BPD, and my last name just didn't feel like me, especially considering his family. After my diagnosis a year ago, my therapist explained that sometimes with people with BPD struggle with this since we struggle with identity as well. So it's been talked about a lot, and my husband actually suggested that we both change our last names. I thought this was an interesting idea. I didn't want my maiden name back because it's hard to spell and pronounce and not at all common in our country. I liked his last name because it was such a common last name. We talked about this for about a year and we settled on my grandmother, who's deceased, maiden name. It's a common-ish, easy to say, and easy to spell name, and we feel like it honors my family, who we have to thank for our lovely lives today. It was surprisingly easy. We set up a court date, filled out the papers, had a hearing, and all within a few weeks, and then we changed it on social media. His family found out, and they're pissed. Some of my family found out, and they're pissed too. They said that we had no reason/right to do this. I told all of them that it was a decision between me and my husband, and it was not up for debate. On his side, they cut us off and never even talked to us. On my side, no one owns the name, and it left with my grandmother when she died anyway. One of my aunts tried to say that I needed their permission. In my opinion, the only permission that I would have needed would have been my grandmother's or father, who have both passed away. My mother thought that it was a great idea, and so did my siblings. We are getting bombarded right now from everyone. We are basically gray-walling. But it's not like it was a rash decision, and we are both very happy with the change. But the amount of backlash that I've gotten has really got me wondering if we effed up by not, quote, announcing or telling people that we were doing this in advance. So, am I the butthole? OP, nobody owns a name. I mean, and it's your life. Honestly, you're free to do whatever you want. You're free to name yourselves whatever you want. Even if you settled on naming your last name Red Hot Chili Dogs, like, it's your life and no one can tell you how to live it. Now, obviously, that would be a crazy last name. But, I mean, I think what you did is something very, beautiful. You try to honor a deceased family member, and you came to a name that you and your husband love. Like, no one can fault you for that, especially his family, who cut you off to begin with anyway. I wouldn't want their last name either. So yeah, OP, don't let them guilt trip you. If you and your husband are happy, that's all that matters. Our next Reddit post comes from Alternative Scar 5530, titled, "Am I the butthole for refusing to help my best friend with her wedding because she didn't make me a bridesmaid?" My best friend, we'll call May, and I have been close since middle school. We talked about being in each other's weddings, so when she got engaged last year, I just assumed that I would be a bridesmaid. She recently asked me to help with the wedding planning, but when she showed me the list for her bridal party, I wasn't on the list. I asked her why, and she got awkward and said that she had to make some, quote, choices. The party included her sister, her fiance's sister, and a few newer friends that she's known for only a couple of years. She said that she wanted a small party. I didn't want to make a big deal about this though. I congratulate her and I figured that I'd still be a guest at least. But then she started asking me for a lot of help. Things like dress shopping, DIY decorations, venue hunting, making party favors, and a bunch of other stuff. I finally told her, hey, I love you, but I feel weird doing all of this when I'm not even a bridesmaid. She got angry and said that she thought that I'd still want to be involved because we were best friends. I told her that I'd still be at the wedding, but I wasn't going to do all of this extra work when she didn't even consider me close enough to be in her bridal party. Now, she and some of our mutual friends are giving me the cold shoulder, saying that I'm being petty and making the wedding, quote, all about me. But I'm not going to be doing bridesmaid level work if I'm not one. Am I the butthole? OP, I completely understand that. It's her wedding. No one can tell her what to do with her own wedding. You know, it's her day, all that. However, it's still your time on the line. You don't have to do anything you don't want to either. And, you know, if you guys were such close friends and best friends, I would imagine that she would have you in the bridal party over some of her newer found friends. But either way, it's her wedding. She can do whatever she wants, but it's still your time. You don't have to help if you don't want to. So, OP, if I were in your position, I probably wouldn't help either. I wouldn't want to do bridesmaid level work if I wasn't close enough with her to be a bridesmaid. So, definitely not the butthole OP. Our next Reddit post comes from Bellanella10, titled, Am I the butthole for calling out my husband's friend after he made inappropriate comments about my son's maternity? So, for context, I, a 23-year-old female, have been married to my husband Alex, who's 27, for 2 years, and we have a 10-month-old son named Dylan. Alex has a friend named Mike, who's also 27. They've been best friends since high school. For my first encounter, I do not like Mike. He is really childish. He likes to be the center of attention and has a crude sense of humor. It's like he never got out of his frat boy phase. All of my husband's friends are married or in long-term relationships, whereas Mike has never been in a long-term relationship or has brought any women around. He has also made some weird comments towards me that honestly have made me uncomfortable. My husband has a deep bond with Mike, and they often go on hunting trips or have, quote, boys' nights together. I've never tried to keep my husband from hanging out with his friend, but I have limited my contact with Mike as much as possible since we've been together. One day, Mike came over to pick up my husband to go golfing. I was holding our baby when I answered the door. Mike greeted us at the door, asked to hold my baby, and was cooing at him. Then he said, "Hey there, little man, come to Papa." And my husband and Mike started laughing. A bit of background. I have brown hair and blue eyes, and my husband has black hair and brown eyes. Our son's hair is coming in blonde, and he has blue eyes. Mike has blondish hair and blue eyes. I was a bit caught off guard, but ignored this comment. Mike then said, he kind of looks like me, maybe he's mine, and my husband and Mike continued to laugh. I was obviously not amused by this. I told Mike to hand me my son and then told him, not in a million years, and no woman with any sense would want you. Neither my husband nor Mike laughed at my comment, and Mike just made a face before he and my husband left. Later, my husband told me that I took it, quote, too far with Mike and that Mike was just joking around, but I made it personal. I told him that those comments were disrespectful to me as his wife and the mother of his child. He then said that it's obviously not true, so why am I upset about this when I know how Mike is? OP, I definitely don't think you're a butthole for being upset about his comment. I mean, he literally just told you in front of your husband that he's screwing you and that your child is his, like, and you don't even like the guy. Like, that would if I didn't like that person, that would probably annoy me too. Like, I get it, you know, it's just a joke. He wasn't being serious. I understand all that, right? But on some level, you gotta read the room, man. Like, you guys aren't friends. You can't joke like that with people that, like, you aren't friends with or don't appreciate that sense of humor. So, like, read the room, buddy. Like, definitely not the type of person that he should have been joking with. And your husband should take your side in this no matter what. If you're uncomfortable by a joke, he should be telling his friend, hey, just don't joke like that with my wife because she doesn't like it. And what my wife doesn't like, I probably shouldn't like either. So, yeah, definitely not the butthole OP. Your husband needs to be a little more supportive of you here, I think. Our next Reddit post comes from Storage Material 2644, titled, Am I the butthole for asking my friend to bring her own food over when she asks to come over? So, my friend has a pretty big appetite, and when she comes over, she frequently eats many of my groceries. I am on a limited budget and I cannot afford to feed her appetite. When she comes over, she will typically eat $40 to $60 worth of groceries. I'm all for feeding my guests refreshments and providing snacks and meals, and I only invite my friends over when I'm in a financial position to host. The friend in question asks me almost weekly if she can come over. She usually says that she's having a hard time and just needs a friend. I'm always hesitant, though, to have her over because of the amount of my groceries that she helps herself to. If I have a full multi-pack of food, she will leave me with only 1 or 2 in there, in addition to having whatever else she finds in my fridge or pantry. I recently expressed my concern with her and told her that if I invite her over, I plan on providing snacks/meals. However, if she asks to come over, then she needs to bring her own food. She did not take this well and felt like I was shaming her eating habits. She does have a tendency to find comfort in food and often struggles with overeating. And then she pointed out that I don't have this rule with any of my other friends, to which I tried to explain that this was because they never ate so much that I felt that I needed to implement any kind of rules or restrictions with them. She said that I was being a butthole for shaming her for her biggest insecurity and for singling her out by creating rules for her that I don't have with other friends. I knew that she struggled with food, but still asked if she could supply her own snacks and meals when she comes over. Am I the butthole for this? OP, budget or not, I don't think it's unreasonable to not want someone to just rummage through your cabinets and pantry and just eat anything that they want every single time they come over to your house. Like, that's just rude. Like, never would I think to go over to someone's house and just start rummaging through their pantry without asking permission first, or like overeating someone else's food. Like, even at home with my wife, like if there's like one cookie, I always try to leave like the last cookie for her, or not eat too many cookies because I want her to have cookies. But like, I wouldn't go to someone else's house and eat like 4 of their 6 cookies. That's just rude. So yeah, OP, definitely not the butthole for enforcing some type of restriction. I think it's more rude on her part than anything to just think that that's okay. Our next Reddit post is from Tay Speaks, titled, Am I the butthole for not letting my husband attend his sister's wedding? My husband and I are expecting our first child this May in 2025. We found this out very early in September of 2024. We did not keep this a secret from anyone, and in fact, we shared the news in person with his family and my family on the day that we found out. During this period, his sister, who's 29, was getting to know someone and getting engaged in October of 2024. It's sort of an arranged marriage, as she was set up and decided to get engaged after only 3 months of speaking to the guy. Her parents, which are my in-laws, were happy that she liked him and wanted to quickly move forward. She's been wanting to get married for the past 5 years, actually. After the engagement party in October, there was a brief discussion of the wedding and when it would be. His sister had mentioned that she wanted to be married by no later than April of 2025. After our initial OB visit in September, my husband had mentioned to his parents that I would not be able to travel after 34 weeks as per my doctor. His mother decided to ignore this information and not even address it. His sister and mother decided on planning on having the wedding in April of 2025, even though they had not booked anything at all. His sister's fiance lives in Texas, which is about a 3.5-hour flight away. I briefly mentioned that I would not be able to attend in April as it would be too close to my due date, but wish them all the best in their planning anyway. So February 2025 rolls around and they decided to have the wedding this upcoming April 19th of 2025 in Texas. I tell my husband that because I'll be almost 37 weeks pregnant, that he would definitely not be able to go. A month prior, we had a huge fight about this, and his mom had told him that it's okay that if I don't go, but that he would have to attend. At the time, I wasn't opposed to this as I thought it would be fine. However, 2 weeks ago, we met with my OB and I decided to ask for her advice while he was also in the room. I asked her for her confirmation that it's not a problem if he were to travel during my 37th week. She looks at both of us and says, absolutely not. We both stare at her shocked, and she continues to say that this would be like rolling a dice and that she would not recommend it. If something were to happen, I would not be able to slow anything down. He unenthusiastically agrees and says that it's messed up that they picked the date knowing that we would most likely not be able to attend anyway. It's now almost April, and he just told his mother that we will both for sure not be able to attend. My husband and in-laws had a huge fight, and he explained the situation, and his dad actually ended up threatening that he wouldn't attend either if he's not at the wedding. However, I don't budge after he tells me this and calmly state that he simply cannot attend 2 weeks before my due date as we're both having this baby together. So, am I the butthole for not letting him attend his sister's wedding? OP, I don't think you're the butthole. I can understand why he's torn because it's his sister, and of course, he wants to be there for what is essentially his sister's next biggest milestone in her life, right? However, when you're having a baby or you're starting a family, I really think that, like, at that point, that family that you're starting and your wife has to be your number one priority at that point. Not your sister's wedding, not your brother's wedding. Your family is now your number one priority because that's the family that you're building, that you chose to build, right? Like if one of my brothers decided to have their wedding and it was 2 weeks before her due date, I wouldn't go either because I wouldn't want to roll that dice or take that gamble and risk not being there when she went into labor because, for a lot of people, that's just something that you can't come back from. That's a moment that, you need to be there for. And in a lot of marriages, if you miss it, like almost for anything, right? Short of a life or death situation, get into a car crash or something. If you miss it willingly because of something you did, a lot of marriages don't come back from that. So definitely not the butthole OP. I completely understand where you're coming from. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/Am I the Butthole. Thank you all so much for listening, and if you like these videos, like and subscribe as we post a new Reddit video almost every single day.